In this video, I'm going to tell you the two things that you have to understand if you want to be a great leader. I believe these two things are so important that if you're currently in leadership or if you're moving into a leadership role, you should prioritize understanding these two things above everything else. And once you truly understand these two things, it will totally transform your ability to lead. But if you make the mistake of not prioritizing these two things, you can do everything else right and you still will fail. So what are these two things that are so incredibly important for you to understand? Your personal leadership strengths and weaknesses. I see it all the time. People get moved into a leadership role and they start trying to figure out this thing called leadership. Oftentimes they think that they can either just leverage the things that made them successful in a non-leadership role, or they think they can just emulate or replicate another leader that they've seen in their life, someone that they've either worked for or someone that they respect, and they believe they can just do what they do and that's going to make them successful. Although both those things are admirable, it's often a recipe for mediocrity. Great leaders know that they not only need to understand their strengths, but they need to understand how to leverage those strengths in their new leadership role. While at the same time, they need to understand their weaknesses so they can build up some guardrails to help keep those weaknesses from bringing them down. That leader that you admire so much may have strengths and weaknesses that are different than yours. So when you try to replicate what comes easy to someone else, but does not come easy to you, the result will be that you'll come across as someone that's not very genuine. And this will cause frustration for both you and your team. In addition, really great leaders take the time and let their team understand and know what they're good at and what they're not. And that information is really valuable in helping teams grow and come together and reach potential goals that they couldn't reach if they didn't understand that element of their leader. So the question is, how do you truly understand what are your strengths and weaknesses? And once you understand that, how do you actually apply that in your leadership style? And I'm going to cover that in my next video. But just know this, being a great leader doesn't mean you don't have weaknesses. And it also doesn't mean you have to lead like someone else that is successful leads. But when you understand both your strengths and your weaknesses, your road to success just became a lot more clear.